Hi folks, Dave with DBS Tech Talk, and today I'm going to give you a little bit of the history of what got me started into higher end, quote unquote, higher end audio. And just a brief explanation of when I first really got interested in, well, I've always been interested in music, but when I first got into headphones or earphones or in-ears, I always went the cheapest route. I never wanted to pay money. I thought it was stupid to pay money for something that you could get for free with a cell phone or somebody would, it seemed like back in the day everything came with some sort of earbuds or something like that. And so you get it for free, why pay for it? And if you do have to pay for it because it's broke, don't spend more than like $10 because it's not worth it. I mean, you can't hear the difference. And so when I got my LG V10, they came with 8kg headphones. The 8kg quad beats, earphones, not headphones, quad beats. And that really started me on the journey of trying to find the better quality. They had a nice impactful bass, a little warm in the mids, and the highs were detailed and clear. They could be a little sibilant at times. But I loved the fact that I could connect them into my phone, and I had nice isolation, and I had a good sound that I had never heard before. Everything that I had heard before was mud bass, just sounded like a truck going through the mud, with nothing else basically. I mean, I don't know what I was thinking. And so I got them, and I really enjoyed them. And for the longest time, I was very much into my AKG quad beats. Well, then I started to get the itch to get over ears, and not really having a clue about what I was looking for as far as sound, not knowing what I was really striving to get out of a pair of headphones. I went on Amazon and I just looked and see what was Amazon's choice, and of course their choice was Symphonized and House of Marley. Well, the House of Marleys I had seen, in like Walmart and in Best Buy and things like that. And so I was like, let's try something different. Because I'm the guy that wants to try that one brand that most people either haven't heard of or that gets really good reviews, but you still had never, you were like, should I try these or not? So I tried the Symphonized. Now I don't have them anymore. I actually have passed them on to one of my subscribers. But they were the Symphonized Wraiths, and they were the ones that were kind of in the triangular shape, and they came very nice quality. Actually, they're well built. They are not overly janky as far as touch and feel. They do feel like they would last. You're not going to break when you drop them, if you do happen to drop them. And they have a very nice wood finish on them, and the pads are decent. But what I came across on them is they were small on my ears. Now I don't have Dumbo ears, but I have longer shaped ears, and they just didn't fit right. And I do not like the feel of pads touching my ears. I don't really like that pressure on them, and also it can't really put pressure up here where my glasses are. These headphones kind of did that. So that was one negative. Comfort wise, they're probably fine for some people, but they weren't for me. They weren't the greatest. And then as far as sound went, they drastically improved on what I had heard as far as over ears, because I had paid for just the cheapy little things. And anyway, so that was one plus for them, was that the sound was definitely better. And then the bass was it was a very warm headphone. The bass was not very well extended, the highs weren't overly extended, and the mids were very shallow, I would say. Not recessed, but they did not have very much depth at all. The headphones had decent sound. They were okay. If you're not interested in having any sort of like real audiophile tuning to them, and you like a warmer sound, then those would be adequate. They're definitely on the bass. They're a little muddy and thick. The mids are very warm. The vocals sound really good, especially male vocals. Females tend to struggle a little bit because the highs are not very extended. They are not very clear either. The details are not overly large on the Symphonized. But other than that, they were okay. Come here, kitty. I don't want you being down there. I guess he won't come out. Anyways, so I got those, and then I wanted to get some noise canceling ones because my wife and I were going to take a road trip. And so I ventured on to Amazon again, and I ended up getting a pair of House of Marleys, and they have some bizarre name, but basically they're the TTRs. And they came in a nice box out box. The unboxing was very nicely presented. They gave a carrying case, and this thing has seen battles now. It's in pretty bad shape now, but I mean the lid's coming off, and I can't give high quality marks for that. They needed to improve that big time. But as far as the headphones go, when you pull them out, they are not massively huge, but they are heavy. And of course, this is all metal. Even the part that says Marley on it, that's connected to the headband, feels like metal. It's cold to the touch. All of this feels like metal. This is plastic. This part here, where you turn them on and off, that's plastic. But everything else feels metal. The pads are real leather. The headband is real leather. It's got a real thick dampening foam in here, but if you try to remove that there's the grill for the speaker is right there, and it's hard and will hurt your ears. Let's see if I can get this back on here. The headband is very stiff. These are very stiff. You can't really pull them out very far. And you put them on your head, and the clamping force is just insane. And I have tried stretching these, and it's snug. As far as what you get when it comes to cables, they're fairly decent cables. I wouldn't call them great cable. They're not going to compare to a Periap or something like that, but they're fairly nice. They're a lot better than that plastic stuff that you can get on some of the cheaper headphones. It does have a microphone with a plus and minus and a play pause button and answer phone calls. And it's a 2.5 millimeter going into a 3.5 millimeter 90 angle, which is nice. It is a little short. Like if you put them on, this sits a little at an awkward angle. I'd prefer it to come down a little bit farther, but that's just me. And then also you get a big 10-foot cable without a microphone, the same setup, same texture on, which is nice. And then you get the bizarre airplane adapter, which I've never seen anybody use. So they're not terribly built, but you put them on and you plug them into your phone or your source, and they just sound awful. They're very dampened, The bass is extremely thumping. They have the mids sound like someone's talking to you in a cave, and the highs don't exist at all. I mean, it's just crazy. And then you turn on the noise canceling, and you get this little white LED. I don't know if you can see that. And you put them on, and all of a sudden, first of all, I can still hear everything around me. And there's also an added white noise sound. It's like going on. It doesn't do anything like Bose does or anything like that. It's just basically it puts a different sound in to block out the other sounds. Kind of bizarre. But musically, when you have the ANC on, all of a sudden the bass smooths out and isn't all muddy, and the mids kind of get cleared up a little bit, and the highs come out just a little, not overly accentuated, but they definitely are more clear. You can hear some detail, but these are warm again. They're not overly warm. Like the Symphonized were really warm headphones, but they also had some texture to them. These don't really have that. These are more like thumping bass, warm. It's a very impactful bass. It's a very slow mids and bass. There's not a lot of attack to it, and it resonates a lot. And then the treble, because the treble is not super high in them and very cleared or detailed, you don't get a whole lot of clarity, even though it does improve when you put the ANC on. I hope that makes sense. But anyways, I wouldn't recommend these. They have way too many problems with them. It was a nice try as far as quality goes, durability, but they're heavy. They are mega clampy, and the pads just aren't big enough for my ears. And yeah. So the search continued. And I then proceeded to join some of the local or some of the online forums. And so I started to hear a lot about a company called Beyerdynamic. And everybody talked about the DT770s and the 880s and the 990s. And when something gets highly recommended, I'm going to look for something that's similar but a little different. And everybody was, Beyerdynamics are great. This, and this. They have the bass, they have the treble, and they have the mids. And I was like, that sounds like what I want. I don't want the overly bassy headphone, but I want the bass to be impactful. And so I decided to go with the one headphone of the Beyerdynamic DT line that nobody really talks about, and that's the Custom Studio. And so I found a pair on the Bay for refurbed for $150. And when they arrived, I was like, man, these things are light compared to my House of Marleys and compared to my Symphonized. They are still made of metal. The padding's a whole lot nicer. And of course, they came with a bunch of customized stuff in the box, which I never used. But they feel good. Put them on your head. They feel really nice. They got a little bit of dampening foam in them, and they have nice pads that go around my ears, and they're not touching them anywhere. They're not putting pressure on my glasses, anything of the sort. And I was like, okay, we're on the right way. And I put them on, I plug them in, and I start listening to music, and I'm like, wow. I can hear details I haven't heard before. They are so clear, so up there in the treble, and they have some bass. And then I realized, oh wait, they have bass ports on the bottom, and you can click it and it changes the intensity of the bass. And so I started playing around with that, and I realized that if I go just down one, it adds a little bit of bass impact, and it quells the highs just a little bit, takes the tinginess out of them so they're not quite as sibilant. And I like them. I move them down all the way, and the bass gets really thumpy, super mega impactful, and you can feel it. You can actually feel the driver sometimes just like thumping against your ear if you're on the right bassy song, which is really kind of cool impact. But wouldn't recommend that too much, especially if you have sensitive ears. But it's kind of cool to do just every now and then. The bass is very well extended. It's very, I wouldn't say overly precise, but it's accurate, and it is smooth. You don't get a lot of resonating sounds, a lot of delay in them. They're not overly fast, not like a planar, but they have nice detail to the bass. The mids are very almost neutral. They at times can sound a little recessed. They're not a forward headphone, but they're not. I wouldn't say they're deeply recessed. And I think it's because the bass and the treble tend to be more accentuated on these, so it makes them sound like the mids are recessed a little. But I think the mids are actually pretty close to neutral. And then the treble transitions very nicely, and you get very high detail in them. They extend extremely way out there, and at times they can seem bright or sibilant. They're not RHA highs, but they get close. You can definitely hear the highs and the detail in them and the range of them. They are clear. They are very detailed, especially if you put the ports where they are fully closed. They're very analog. You could use these for mixing. They're that good on the highs, and the bass won't be over bloated that way. But if you want to hear the bass, if you're just listening to music, open them up just a little bit on those ports. So I was very content, and I was extremely happy to get these because I finally had a sound that I knew existed. I just didn't know where it existed. And Beyerdynamic opened up the world of audio to me. It went from muddy bass, terrible mids, and no highs to a balanced sound that can be impactful and clear and detailed, and open up the imaging so I can tell where things are on the stage and the depth of it, and I can tell the range. And these have it. Now, they're not overly wide headphone, but you can definitely tell whether or not it's coming left or right. And if a song moves from right to left or left or up and down, you can kind of hear the differences with these headphones. And it completely changed my thought process. I then proceeded to want to try a pair of opens, but I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money because back then I was a cheapskate. And so I went and got the Superlux 668Bs, I believe. It's the Evo version. I'm sorry, I don't have my information directly in them, but they were the semi-opens. Terrible build quality, very janky. Felt like they were going to fall off your head and break at any moment. But the sound was fantastic, and the airiness and the openness and being able to just hear things in a different light other than being closed was incredible. And all of a sudden, I learned that open is my favorite type of headphone. And so I now own 4 pairs of open headphones because I have passed my Superluxes on. And I might have to get another pair of those. Those were pretty good. I really did enjoy those. But anyways, so that's my start to the journey. And going forward, I'm going to try to do a review or a thoughts in layman's terms, not overly expansive with technology terms and with a bunch of other knowledge and words that people don't understand. But I'm going to try to give it to you in a consumer thought process. And sorry, my cat is using his office. Anyway, so no editing allowed. So I do apologize for that. But where was I? Okay. I'm going to try to give thoughts and reviews on the way a consumer looks at it as will I enjoy this and who is this for and why, and not bore you with all the details of the specs and the big terms of the sound. I just want you to know what I think about them as a normal human being that loves music. So, thank you for watching DBS Tech Talk, and this is Dave, and I'll catch you on the next one.